The year 627, a lone 28-year-old monk from China sets on a spiritual quest all the way to India. He treks his way across 34 kingdoms, recording his experiences, arrives at Nalanda, the leading center of Buddhist learning in India, and studies Buddhist philosophy under the tutelage of the grand old Guru Srila Bhadra. Shunning fame and glory, he returns home after 19 years of pilgrimage with 657 sacred texts and a personal diary that describes life at Nalanda. Completely at ease with the Chinese and Sanskrit language, he translates 47 scriptures, totaling 1,335 volumes of wisdom, and gets his name imprinted in history as Xuan Sang. One wonders what was so special about those ancient texts from India that he dedicated an entire lifetime to understanding and translating them. Ancient India had highly formalized methods of Vedic learning through well-established large teaching institutions such as Taxila, Nalanda and Vikramashila, recognized as India's early universities. Thousands of students from across the world came to specialize in over 64 different fields of study like Vedas, grammar, philosophy, astrology, Ayurveda, agriculture, surgery, politics, archery, warfare, astronomy, commerce, music, dance, futurology, and many more. Each of these was regarded a Shastra or system of knowledge and were vehicles of spiritual expressions that helped refine and uplift the values and sentiments of human society. Mastering as many of the 64 arts was considered important in the development of a cultured individual. Thanks to the brief sojourn of Lord Macaulay during the colonial rule, the ancient Indian Gurukul system of education was eradicated. As Lord Macaulay addressed the British Parliament, he said,
"I have travelled across the length and breadth of India, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. Therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture. For if the Indians think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them to be, a truly dominated nation."
And so came into force an education system that focused on developing one form of intelligence, even as the ancient Indian way of developing an individual in multiple forms of intelligence by learning as many of the 64 arts was completely lost. Perhaps the Indian mind has evolved in a different direction.
Well, at least we know how to focus. Okay, let's assume the thoughts, actions and the basic lifestyle we follow are the main reasons for what we are today. So does that mean we can control our thoughts and actions and mold ourselves into what we want to be? How is that even possible?
The genius of our ancients realized this and pursued learning and practicing 64 arts. They believed that through every activity of life, they would be able to maintain the harmony and integral well-being of the body and being. They believed that one small change in the core of a being would bring about a radical change in the character of the being itself, which would eventually become a character trait. For centuries, the people of Vrindavan relate with the child who adorns the role of Krishna in the dance Ras Leela as the Lord himself. The whole act of getting ready and performing is done with so much devotion, reiterating the ancient belief system that work is worship.
I don't believe in all this cultural stuff. Why should I spend so many years learning martial arts? It's not going to help me in my profession. I'm not going to become any more successful. Self-defense? Probably. But isn't it easier if I just carry a pepper spray or carry a knife? Why would I waste so many years and all my energy in learning an art form that is probably not going to help me in any way?
There is much more to an art form than the mere techniques that meet the eye. For example, martial arts is one of the 64 arts. Here, we witness students learning Kalaripayattu, the Kerala form of martial arts. It not only helps exercise your body, it keeps you mentally alert, calms you emotionally, inculcates a never give up attitude, and makes you relentlessly strive towards perfection. To top it all this becomes a part of your character permanently. Learning an art form like dancing makes not just your dance, but makes you graceful, focused, integrates a sense of multiplicity, and enables you to grow spiritually, holding on to the immortal rhythms.
How does a dancer evoke a rasa?
To evoke rasa, in the Natya Shastra, Bharat Muni has given bhavas like Sthayi Bhava, Anubhava, Vibhava, Sanchari Bhava. And to enact them on the stage, he has given a shloka like Yato Hasta, Tato Drishtir, Yato Drishtir, Tato Mana, Yato Mana, Tato Bhava, Yato Bhava, Tato Rasa. Where the hands go, the eyes follow. Where the eyes go, the mind follows. And where the mind goes, there the expression of emotions. And there the rasa is created.
Pursuing the arts and developing oneself in multiple skills has an effect on the physical, mental, emotional, and psychic realm. In 1983, a Harvard professor, Howard Gardner, propounded a theory that human beings function with multiple intelligence instead of one. The theory had a profound impact on the educational system in the West, reiterating what the ancient Indian texts have prescribed centuries ago. The theory of multiple intelligence challenges the idea of a single IQ that governs a human being's function and says that there are multiple types of human intelligence, each representing different ways of processing information, like linguistic intelligence, logical intelligence, visual intelligence, musical intelligence, naturalistic intelligence, bodily intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, and so on. It is firmly believed that a person who develops himself in more than one form of intelligence is able to live life with a far better awareness than the rest. The ancients were able to achieve these objectives as one was relaxed and free to fiddle and wonder at his surroundings, paving the way for the free flow of inquisitive questioning and intuitive learning.
In the beginning, when I started working on the subtle energies of the human body, I was not getting very further into the subject until one night I had a very, very powerful experience in which I lived various aspects of how these energies exist in the body, how they get affected, what are the factors that impact us, how to maintain the alignment, etc. In order to able to express this powerful experience, it took me 33 years of research into every aspect of it, doing it very systematically, very methodically, very scientifically, with the help of various equipments, with the help of various instruments. And today we are in a position to be able to demonstrate, to show, to explain to people how these energies work, how they can be rectified, how they can be corrected. And you can see the effect of it in terms of health, wealth, prosperity, growth, etc.
Understanding the subtle energies of our body is a science that the ancients practiced through the 64 arts. This is accomplished by harmonizing three spaces: Ghat Akash, the space in our body; Griha Akash, the space in the building we live; and Maha Akash, the universal space. The Vedas describe the human body as the meeting place of heaven and earth, where every time our eyes are open, we draw in cosmic energy from above the head, and when eyes close, we draw in earth energy from below the feet. The blinking of the eye keeps reversing this flow in the body's energy system, or the Naadi system as we call it. There are three systems of energy axis or Nadis that work in our body: the solar energy axis, active from sunrise to sunset; the lunar energy axis, active from moonrise to moonset; and the telluric energy axis, active 24 hours, detectable in the period after sunset before moonrise or after moonset before sunrise. In the Indian spiritual tradition, the solar energy axis is called Pingala Nadi, the lunar is called Ida Nadi, and the telluric energy axis is called Shushumna Nadi. According to the Vedic seers and sages, the physical body has a complex web of subtle energies that interact with the environment and help maintain harmony within, of which the three vital components are the chakras, the nadis, and the koshas. This entire web of energy channels exists within the subtle body and can't be found on the operating table. Like a network of rivers nourishing a landscape, there are energy channels called nadis through which this energy flows to nourish and energize the various organs in the human body. They are said to be 72,000 in number. The vibratory influence of these nadis create layers of energy fields that envelop the body, called the koshas. Research conducted by Akash Foundation reveals that while the nadis are like the fiber optics developed by science and technology, the koshas are like the transmitters and receivers, exchanging our thoughts, feelings and energies with the environment around.
The Naadi system is something which is at the heart of the 64 arts. The way it exists is very interestingly described in one of the ancient texts of Ayurveda. What they say is that whether you take Ida or Pingla or Sushumna, they have the fineness of the spider's web. Now imagine that these are fine tubes. It's not just one single tube. There are other tubes which they refer to as the Vajrini, and within the Vajrini is a third tube called the Chitrini. Now interestingly enough, the description of the Chitrini Nadi is given as fine as the fiber within the lotus stem. This triple system of Ida, Pingla, Sushumna, each one of containing the Vajrini, containing the Chitrini, has at the heart of the Nadi system something called the Naad. It is not any ordinary sound, it is referred to as Brahma Naad. This Brahma Naad is a very interesting concept because this relates to what we call a Bij mantra, which is a seed sound for each one of us in which our body vibrates. And once we understand this concept of seed sound and this vibration within the heart of the Nadi system, it automatically aligns and maintains all the 72,000 Nadis in our body. Whether it's music, whether it's dance, whether it's architecture, whether it's sculpture, each of these arts helps align these Nadis within our body system. And that is the greatness of our ancients.
I have no idea how my heart functions, nor do I make any effort to breathe. It just happens. Why would I want to know how this energy system works, unless I have some control over this?
Ancient texts describe our inhalation as making the sound so, and exhalation making the sound hum, with some masters identifying it the reverse way. So hum means I am that. The So Hum mantra is a natural mantra as it is already a part of our nature, reminding us with every breath that what we are made of is no different from what the universe is made of, thus rendering us with limitless potential.
If we are beings of such limitless potential, then why does life appear so challenging? Why do our careers, finances, relationships, love life sometimes go completely awry?
These Nadi systems, being extremely sensitive, are easily affected by either an internal self-generated stress due to hectic lifestyle or external bioelectromagnetic BEM radiations transmitted by mobiles, electrical appliances, TV and mobile towers, and many more, leading to non-alignment of the Nadi system. Fortunately, there are a variety of simple methods to recharge the depleted energies of our subtle bodies and strengthen them. Research reveals being with nature or even viewing scenes of nature reduces stress. Another way of energizing your chakras is by yogic postures or even simple hand gestures called mudras. The fingers and the thumb of each hand have a direct relationship with the energy axis of the human body. The thumb with its divisions relates to the spiritual axis, the index with its divisions to the mental axis of the head zone, the major to the vital axis or trunk zone, the ring finger to the physical axis or leg zone, and the little finger to the psychic axis, which is the whole body. Keeping this in mind, a series of mudras or hand gestures help in aligning that particular part of the body. The ancient texts also prescribe asanas or yogic poses to activate and balance these chakras. The Indian classical dance forms use a lot of these mudras and postures that align the energy system.
I understand my grandparents kept going to a temple to energize themselves. But now we have a lot more alternative systems of medicines to do the same job. Why go to a temple?
The temple structures were created with immense care, taking into consideration several critical factors of alignment with the sun, moon, and earth energies. Once aligned with the sun's movement, the energy of the temple gets continuously renewed by the sun. Every temple complex is based on a dipole energy system where two energy poles channel the energy flow dynamically between them. Like an electromagnetic system where a moving object cutting a magnetic field generates energy, when a human being moves through these subtly engineered static energy channels, it generates dynamic energy within him. As the body is not used to being in high energy environments, we find that in all religious buildings there is a progression of energy fields from the entrance to the sanctum reflected in the many doors or changes in the plinth level. The idols in the temples are created as per the norms of the Shilpa Shastra. Even simple rituals like taking aarti or holding the hands over the flame were done with the purpose of energizing the chakras, as the fingers with the energy points were held over the flame. When the bathing ritual of the temple deity or Abhisheka is done with 5 ingredients called Panchamritam, a layer of negative ions gets formed on the surface of the idol. When the aarti is done and flame shown close to the idol, the heat releases the negative ions into the atmosphere. The air is further charged by the vibrations formed by ringing the huge bell, the sound of which is amplified by the dampness in the floor. Our presence in the temple at the time of this ritual helps us absorb negative ions which are otherwise present only in hills and mountains or near the seashore before sunrise. And we come back totally charged and refreshed.
If you take the Hindu religious festival of Durga Puja, which goes on for more than 10 days, then why is that done first of all? Now, a puja is done when there is a shortfall of divine grace corresponding to a certain cosmic life energy, like the life energy of Venus, which is the energy of the Divine Mother. Now, when Venus goes into the debilitation sign of Virgo, now that is the time when this low energy needs to be augmented artificially, like through pujas. So, whenever we propitiate the Divine Mother in any way, then that energy which has actually fallen low is again raised because of the activity of human beings, propitiation, chanting Lalita Sahasranama, then Durga Namavalli and so on.
I have really never understood the concept of praying in a language which we don't understand. Do these mantras and slokas really help?
Come, you also want to learn?
Yes, but after only you clarify some doubts. Why should I chant when I don't understand one word of it?
I will explain you. Before that, do me a favor, will you?
Gladly, sir.
Fill that vessel with water from the pond using this basket.
But master, it's impossible.
Do you want your questions to be answered?
Yes.
Then do what I say. Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame.
I wonder if he knows what he's doing.
Do you see any change in the basket?
Yeah, it was dirty in the beginning, now it's cleaner now.
The basket doesn't know the meaning of water. but it has been cleaned by the water, isn't it? Same way, chanting cleanses your thought and emotions by the very vibration it creates.
The alphabets of the Sanskrit language have a very interesting sound system. The way different sounds emitted from the body, from the mouth, right from the guttural to the labial. These sound systems, or each consonant of the Sanskrit alphabet, is considered a Bij mantra. What is important is to be able to find out which is the Bij mantra with which your body system resonates.
Chanting or affirmations align the chakras and the 72,000 nadis instantly. Mantras are energy-based sounds, and sounds create forms. It need not necessarily be given by a spiritual master or found in a scripture. It could even be your expression of the concept of God or what divinity means to you. If, for example, divinity means love to you, sleeping and waking by saying love is your mantra. The secret of life is to be able to hold on to your mantra in the midst of all your activities 24/7. One such a person would be deemed a saint. Where he sits would become a temple, as he would generate universal energy which no power would be able to destabilize.
In ancient times, there were maestros like Tansen in Emperor Akbar's court. I believe when he sang a particular raga, like Malhar, it rained. How is it possible? Like, they are good for stories. And stories, I understand. But how can you believe in something which you don't see?
On one of my visits to Paris, I was visiting the Tomati Center in Paris. And there I was introduced to a family with a young boy of 4 or 5 years old who was not able to walk. They had tried all kinds of treatment, all kinds of therapies, and as a last resort, the family had come to this center. What was interesting is that their method of treating is that they were recording the voice of the mother, telling a story, singing a lullaby, and this was recorded through a kind of a fluid which had the consistency of the amniotic fluid in the mother's womb. So the sound that the child hears in the mother's womb is not through the air, it comes through the amniotic fluid. And similarly, they recorded this as though the child is in the mother's womb and listens to the sound. But when you hear this, it all sounds gibberish. There is no kind of a continuous story as the mother is telling. Now the child is given this phones to hear, and he is playing, he is not even aware of what is going on. But he is listening to this sound which is going on in his head for the next 40-45 minutes. The amazing thing was that after this first exposure to this filtered sound of his mother's voice, the child took his first steps in the last 5 years which he had not taken. And everybody standing there had tears in their eyes.
Yes, certain notes of sound produce certain visuals. As she practiced singing, one day into the late 1890s, the Welsh singer Margaret Watt Hughes suddenly saw a tulip floating in the air as she hit a particular pitch. Thinking she was hallucinating, she sang the same notes again, and lo, the tulip appeared again. That triggered her into developing a simple device called iodophone, which she began experimenting with to observe these voice figures, as she called them. The device enabled the vibrations of sound to be visualized. As the singer sang into a pipe, Fitted with a tight rubber sheet at the other end, the powder spread on the sheet began to form patterns and visuals. One day, as she sang Ave Maria, to her astonishment, an image of Virgin Mary and child were formed. In the 1960s, Swiss engineer and medical doctor Hans Jenny began experimenting on the same lines of misuse experiments with modern technology and tools. He used materials such as water, sand, dust, liquid plastic and milk. Dr. Jenny placed the material on a metal plate attached to a crystal oscillator, which was controlled by a frequency generator capable of producing a wide range of vibrations. He then filmed and photographed what happened on the plate. He coined the term cymatics, the study of waveform phenomena. Dr. Jenny invented a machine called a tonoscope, which allowed the human voice to vibrate the plate directly. He had a voice chant Om into a microphone, and the result was the Shri Yantra image found in thousands of temples in India and Far East. Visualizing through sound vibrations was a science known in medieval India during the 16th and 17th centuries, resulting in a series of Ragamala miniature paintings that depict various musical ragas. Bhairava for summer, Deepika for monsoon, Shri for autumn, Malkauns for early winter, Megha for winter, and Hindola for spring.
In one of my trips to Europe, especially to France in 1983, during the Festival of India, I was asked to make a presentation on my research work. So after my presentation, there was a young group of architects who came to see me, and they said they were very interested in my work from the point of view of geobiology. And that's the first time when I heard the word geobiology, and I asked them what it was all about. And they explained to me that this was a research started by medical doctors. Basically, that when they visited patients at home, they found that there were certain places, certain homes where whoever came and stayed developed the same health problem as the predecessors. And this they called as the sick building syndrome. What they were trying to understand is what is it in a building which causes health problems in our body, and what is it in the body that gets affected, and why does it get affected, and is there a way by which this can be prevented. So the research started, and for the last 50 years this has been going on, and what they were able to understand is that nature of the radiations that exist in a building, which are all in the ranges of gigahertz, and the same way the cells of the body vibrate in that range. What they were not able to understand is what is it in the body that gets affected, why does it get affected, and is there any way of preventing it from being affected. And I found that all our ancient knowledge systems which existed in the Vedas, the Upanishads, etc., they speak of the various aspects of our human body. But how does it work in the human body was not clear to anyone and is not clearly expressed anywhere.
So do you mean to say the environment that we live in also has an effect on the energy system of our body?
A multitude of reactions take place in the millions of cells in our body as they respond to a changing environment. Though man inherits certain properties through genes, his environment, including his geographical environment, like which part of the globe he resides in, the natural landscapes around him like mountains, rivers, forests, and the man-made structures like his house and place of work where he spends majority of his time, plays a vital role in shaping him. Yes, we do acquire traits depending on the environment we live in. For generations, science and scientists fondly described the human being as a product of nature and nurture. Humans are designed to develop slowly, depending a lot on the basic lifestyle practices they follow. As Charles Darwin so beautifully said, it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It is the one that is adaptable to change. The one who learns to adapt himself to his environment flourishes. Likewise, the one who is able to alter his environment to suit him also flourishes, which is what the ancient Indian systems of Naadi Shastra and Vaastu Shastra are all about. In ancient India, it was mandatory for the architects to master all the 64 arts, to which Vaastu Shastra, or the science of building, was also a part. The architect was a repository of knowledge and culture and was held higher than even the priest because of the mastery of his own subtle energies through various yogic practices. In ancient times, architecture was not only creation of a structure to define space, but inherently a three-dimensional sacred form.
Today, what modern mathematics and modern science is discovering in terms of fractals, in terms of Fibonacci series, in terms of the golden ratio, it's very interesting to see that people knew all this thousands of years back. The Fibonacci series, which is basically a movement of spiraling energy, and that's how the plants and every tree has its growth with the plants and the branches growing in a spiraling shape around the main stem. There's been a very interesting study of one Professor Kirti Trivedi from IIT Bombay, Powai, who has explained in a very interesting article how the entire design of the Indian temple is based on the fractal, where the smallest part of the temple design contains the whole. So how is it that thousands of years ago people were already aware of these and they applied it in architecture? Our ancestors created forms that were in harmony with the laws of nature, forms that have outgrown time and live in eternity. Theirs was a magic of numbers, a sacredness of proportions and materials, a mysticism of harmonics and colors, a critical choice of the right location and the right moment in time, so that matter and form expressed in an infinite number of ways the cosmic truths and made us experience the multiple attributes of the infinite.
In the late 1970s, a German physician, Dr. Ernst Hartmann, discovered a grid of energy lines emanating from the Earth's surface and circumscribing our globe. This came to be known after him as the Hartmann grid. These energy fields are termed bioelectromagnetic fields, BEM for short. The last 2 decades of research reveal that the radiations from the surface of the earth, termed telluric, are BEM energy grids of 20 types, which does not include the harmful BEM energy fields of underground water streams, faults in the earth, and cavities. All ancient civilizations have discovered in their own ways the existence of these varying BEM earth grids and refer to it by their own names. The Australian Aborigines poetically called them the song lines of the earth. The Chinese referred to them as the veins of the dragon. The ancient Celts as the ley lines. And the ancient Indians called them mandalas. The fact that our ancestors knew the presence of these energy fields is revealed by various structures. The old monasteries in the Himalayas orient the houses and rooms for monks in such a manner that they are contained within the BEM grids in what is normally a neutral zone.
Here is an amazing example, a temple built thousands of years ago. Now if I move with my instrument, I get a reaction here, and I get a single reaction. The reaction is in this direction, moving to my right. When I move to my left, there is no reaction, which means that the grid starts here and goes to my right. Between this and the next grid, there is what we call the neutral zone. If I come here, this column, sets of column are on another grid, which is again a single line of reaction, which is called the normal grid. This side there is no reaction, so this is again the neutral zone. So the entire sanctum portion of the temple comes within the neutral zone of the magnetic grid of the earth.
Research in the Indian subcontinent has revealed that the intensity of these telluric BEM grids is not consistent throughout the day and the year. There are cyclic variations, but these have a fixed pattern. For example, the earth receives cosmic energy due to very high positive intensities of the BEM telluric grids between 2 am and 5 am every day. This is considered an extraordinarily auspicious time and is referred to as the Brahma Muhurta. Similarly, the hour after sunset, Sandhya Kalam, is related to high positive intensities of these grids. Further research has shown that the 28-day cycle of the moon, new moon to full moon to new moon, has an influence on these BEM grids. 2 days before and 2 days after the new moon, for 5 days, the energy of the BEM grid remains at its maximum negative. Similarly, 2 days before and 2 days after the full moon, for 5 days, the energy of these grids is maximum positive. Even the popularly followed Rahu Kalam chart in South India and the Chokadiya chart in North India, used extensively in astrological calculations, is based on this positive and negative intensity patterns of the BEM grids. Having forgotten its origins, very often the current generation refer to it as being superstitious. Studies have shown that 12 hours before any earthquake tremors are felt anywhere in the world, the BEM telluric grids undergo a change. At the actual time of earthquake, the grids encircling the entire globe are badly shaken, and it takes 24 hours after the earthquake for the grids to come back to normalcy. Underground nuclear explosions disrupt BEM grids over the entire surface of the earth for days on end. The animals are very sensitive to these invisible walls of the different telluric BEM grids. They panic as they are able to sense the distortion when it occurs. While most animals avoid the negative zone, Cats and ants are found to thrive on negative energies and will always locate themselves on negative grid nodes. Perhaps that is why cats are associated with witches. Although the causes of these variations are still a matter of research, it is amazing how our forefathers had an exact knowledge of these energy fields, their direct impact on the human body, and how they developed the means to manipulate them to the desired intensities for their benefit.
So, is there a methodology where one can really test it and test it scientifically? Is it possible that everybody else can also develop this kind of skill, or is it only with certain blessed people that this is possible?
A simple device called the Lecar Antenna, named after an Austrian physicist, Professor Ernst Lecar, and designed by Reinhard Schneider, helps detect to a high degree of precision a wide range of high frequencies in the range of 0 to 30 GHz, which is the vibrating frequency of the cells in the body. 6 sensor zones, which help sense these frequencies, have been identified in the body by Professor Rocard of France, who calls them the magnetic identity of a person. With tools like the Lecar Antenna, it is possible to study the different kinds of energy radiations and find ways and means of harmonizing and neutralizing them. Yet another equipment to study the energy radiations is the Kirlian camera. What was once deducted by ancient sages through insights and perception is now being authenticated by scientific procedures. Years of research through various experiments conducted by Akash Foundation, Pondicherry, helped perceive what cannot be seen by the naked eye.
Once we had completed this sort of experiments, that day it happened that a lady came in who had been having cancer for a long period of time and had been undergoing treatment at the hospital. In that period of treatment, what we find is that as the treatment was being done and her photographs were being taken through Kirlian, the cancer was not regressing, it was continuously progressing, in which case both what we call the corona and the streamers were getting reduced. Strangely, that day when she turned up and we requested her to wait for a few minutes before we could finish taking her pictures, 15 minutes in the room where we had cancelled out all the radiations and harmonized the energy of the space. And when we took the pictures, we were stunned to see the entire energy field of the body was back in terms of the corona and the streamers. Where months of treatment was not helping, the body showed signs of recovery. So this is a very interesting phenomena where we have visual proof to show to what extent the body can by itself regenerate without necessarily going through a treatment.
Basically, the orientation of buildings according to their form, materials used, and proportions play a very powerful part in creating either a harmonious environment or a negative environment that affects us socially, psychologically, mentally, and spiritually.
As an architect, I feel I am responsible for someone's life when I am doing a design now. By doing a line, I actually create a healthy body or an ill health.
One need not demolish and rebuild the structures that are not Vaastu compliant. Years of research have yielded simple methods of energy corrections.
The ancients came up with a method of redoing the perimeter of your house or the surface of your house in such a way that it can give the necessary benefit to every individual in his life. The effect of the movement of the sun through the zodiac, the effect of the moon, the magnetic field of the earth. So there is a lot of various impacts that are there on the human body, and amazingly these people have been able to put it all into mathematical formulas. And these set of 9 or 10 formulas are known as the Ayadi calculation and the Ayadi formulas. So far there is no clue as to how the ancients were able to arrive at these formulas. But when you apply them, it's amazing how it affects our life, it affects our destiny.
While the Naadi Shastra and Vaastu Shastra are scientific texts that can be put to use by anyone, it requires a great deal of creativity and sensitivity to be able to perceive what's happening within and what's happening around and apply these laws. Like any branch of science, the laws are universal, but to be able to comprehend and apply it requires a scientific mind. For centuries, the Indian collective consciousness has strived to reach a state of being where the individual is able to manifest the universal energy through his daily activities. In an earnest attempt to achieve this, the Indians started practicing art, which acts as a tool to increase one's awareness of the subtle energies around. The Indian social system, philosophy, arts, culture and religion all revolve around this conception. Perhaps it's time we bring this aspect of our ancients back to the future.